Casca hated Guts in the beginning of the series because he basically took her spot. Casca has been fighting so hard to be really seen and acknowledged by Griffith in the way that she was wanting, right? And then Guts comes along and just does that effortlessly. Griffith puts him on that pedestal so effortlessly, and it's just like, it's infuriating. Remember, Casca said that she wanted to be Griffith's sword. When she says that, not only does she want to be around him, right? If Griffith is going to have his empire, he's going to have his kingdom, he's a soldier, right? He's a mercenary, whatever the case is, he's going to be a knight. He always has his sword. So what does that mean? Not only does she want to be like an extension of his being, right? She wants to be an extension of him. She wants to be like a part of him. She wants to be near him all the time. She never wants to be without him. And she wants him to never want to be without her, right? She wants to be something that he always needs, right? She wants to be his right-hand man. She wants to be the one that he turns to first. She's been wanting that for years from him, right? And then Guts comes along. And he does not want anything to do with the Band of the Hawk, okay? But he comes along and he effortlessly becomes that person to Griffith. How infuriating would that be? This is why she hates him, okay? In the very beginning, she can't stand that man. And it's even more infuriating to her because she sees very early on Griffith acting differently with Guts. You have to understand, we're watching this for the first time, and so we're seeing the Guts and Griffith's relationship. I mean, I caught it on, but a lot of people are just like, oh, they're just bros. Griffith acts like this with anybody. But no, Casca was able to clock that. She was like, why is he fighting so hard for him? Why is he risking his life for him? Why is he trusting him to be in charge of stuff on missions so early? Like, what is going on? Like, and why is he being so complimentary to him? Like, what is happening right now? Casca has been watching him for years. She's in love with this man. She's in love with Griffith. So she knows how he walks, how he talks, how he does things. And so she was able to see. Everybody else wasn't able to see. All the other men were not able to see this. But Casca, because she's in love with him and because she's really pays attention to detail, she was able to catch on very quickly that something's going on. This man, Guts, is making Griffith act differently. And so imagine how much more like angry she was when Griffith made her sleep with Guts naked for 2 days. Again, you want to be special to this person. Like, she wants to be special to this person. She wants to feel sacred. She wants to feel spoken for, right? Just for him to bring this stranger along. Mind you, this stranger, Guts, remember, they came at Guts first. I think it was Corcus, whatever his name was, came at Guts first trying to rob him. Guts took out a couple of their men just from self-defense. Griffith didn't care, right? Usually you would think that, he would be loyal to his men in that way and they would take Guts out. Griffith didn't care. So she's like, this stranger that took out some of our men, we don't really know him. We owe him nothing. I'm going to go lay with him. And what did he tell her? He said it's a woman's job to keep a man warm. Imagine how heartbroken she was. That's why she punched Guts when he woke up, and she was yelling at Griffith like, why is this my responsibility? Like, what's going on? And understand, she in that moment also understood that Griffith only saw her as a woman. In that way, just as a woman, not even as a romantic interest, because at least maybe he would feel jealous or, he wouldn't have me do that. But he sees me just as a woman to compliment a man. Ooh, honey. Y'all, we have to stop dismissing Griffith's feelings, because by saying that he's incapable of love, we're totally missing the plot. Again, he can love. It may be a twisted, unhealthy, manipulative, controlling type of love, but he can love. Even in your statement saying that he sees love as ownership, even if that was the case, which I do see, I feel like there is some truth to that, that's still him loving the best that he knows how. But if we run with, oh yeah, Griffith is incapable of love, it's like, then he's just this being that just doesn't feel anything? No, he feels. I feel like it's kind of like a cop-out to be like, oh, well, because this person did something so terrible, he just can't love. And I'm like, no. Because he loves is why he did the thing that he did that was so terrible. I hope that makes sense, because I'm just like, we can't just dismiss a whole person's feelings. He wasn't numb. He wasn't a sociopath. Like, he did these things because he loved Guts. And even if that love involved control, wanting all his attention on him, because I genuinely do feel that in this long journey of Guts trying to find him so that he can, get his revenge, I think Griffith is like, he likes that. I think he's finding like, I've got his attention. Yeah, focus on me now. Even what he does with the Moonchild, like that. This is some, like, to say that he doesn't feel, it's crazy. And I'm gonna make a whole separate video on that. But yeah, if Griffith didn't feel, if he was incapable of love, if he didn't love Guts at all, he wouldn't have did what he did. And when he was trying to leave, he would have been like, okay, I got my, like, we're already in the kingdom at this point, because that's what it was. They were already in the kingdom. They just had to wait to, like, be officially put in. Like, you feel me? Like, yeah, I feel like he would have been, like, hurt, like, bro, like, if it was really like a brotherhood, like a friendship, or if he didn't give a damn about him at all in that way, I'm like, okay, I understand, like, I guess we still gotta fight it out, but whatever. He wouldn't have ruined everybody's life after that. Like, he threw away everything that they were working on for years before he even knew Guts. He wouldn't have done that, and he was hurt. He was hurt. Like, that's what I'm just like, we might need to reread, rewatch, but really reread. He was hurt, okay? He's a man that feels, okay? Like, Griffith not mad. He hurt. He hurt. So love is an abstract idea, right? And what I mean by that is there is no one absolute truth on what love looks like and what it is. We give it meaning. For example, what is happiness? Some people feel like happiness will be having all the money in the world. Some people would say for all their relationships to be on good terms, to find love, whatever the case is, right? Or what is wealth, right? Some people say health is wealth, being really healthy. Some people say, having a lot of land, having a lot of assets, or even materialistic things, or being able to travel the world. They're really wealthy. So when I say, Griffith, he has the capacity to love. He's not an emotionless robot. And you guys say that, oh, but are his actions loving? I don't think so. If he loved, then he wouldn't really do things like that. And I'm like, y'all, not everybody's love looks the same. Not everybody's love is what we consider healthy. But the point of the matter is, even if y'all say that his love is very conditional, you're proving the point that, yes, it's conditional love, but it's still love. And I really wanted to break this down because I'm like, I feel like because we saw this person do something so terrible, we just mark it off like, oh, well, then they just don't have the capacity to love. They're just like this emotionless robot. They can't do that. I'm like, y'all, we're human. And that's a big part of being human. Because we feel, it could get twisted. It can get ugly. We can become like monsters. And I think that's the part about humanity. Think about all the people, okay, in real life that has done terrible, terrible, terrible things. We don't write these people off as, oh, they just don't have the capacity to feel anything. No. That's the scary part. And that's the scary part, even when you think about serial killers, right? Because for their victims, they were the most monstrous being. But then sometimes for their families, they were like, that person would never do that, right? Like, they were so loving, and in certain areas of their life, they were. And that just makes it more sinister and more scary because they can be a great leader. They can be, a great husband or, a great father, but then a terrible person in another aspect of their life. Or it could be a tragic event or a life-changing event that changes them for the worse. Now, I understand that there are sociopaths, right, that just don't care about anything. They're trying to feel something. They just don't feel anything. They think doing these terrible things will make them feel something. But that is not Griffith. Griffith was never a sociopath. And just to clear up some things, I do believe Griffith saw Guts as a tool at first, right? And this is why I say two things can be seen at once. I mean, let's be real. We know people sometimes use people, right? Let's be real. Even in relationships, in real life, sometimes you can see somebody as an asset or, I kind of want to get with this person because, for financial gain or whatever the case is. Oh, they got money or, they look good. They look good for the brand. They look good for the aesthetic. But then eventually you end up falling in love with them. Let's be real. Even for ladies looking at this, sometimes a guy might like you. You may not really mess with them at first, but because they're funny, okay, because they're funny, you get with them, you give them a chance. They might not even be all that cute to you at first. And then what happens? You end up catching feelings. And then sometimes they end up doing you dirty anyway. Point of the matter is, two things could be true at once, right? He can see him as a tool. He can see him as, somebody that can help him get to his dream quicker. But then as the years go by, loving him and realizing once he can realize that, oh, I can probably lose this person, and he started risking his life for him. Even Casca was like, why are you risking your life? You feel me? Like, he didn't want to lose Guts, right? Shoot, I wouldn't want to lose him either, especially if he's helping me get to my dream. But also, this is somebody that can protect you. Let's be real. I don't think before Guts, I don't really think that Griffith could really put his life in somebody else's hands. Like, yeah, Casca, but think about it. Like, Casca was second to Griffith. We saw like at first when Guts came across Griffith, yeah, he lost that battle. But they was like, you feel me? Like, you know, he lost the battle, but then eventually they was going at it. That second round, they was going at it. And then that third time they fought, Guts won. Right? That also gives a type of respect. Like, this is not somebody I could just push around. So it's very intricate. But yes, Griffith has emotions. He has feelings. Okay? He is not a robot. Humans can do terrible things. A scorned lover, like, come on now. Well, really not a lover. But a scorned person, like jealousy, insecurity, narcissism, all those are like, these people have feelings. They have emotions. They may not express it in the best way, but they have feelings. Okay, so this is that iconic scene where it was kind of obvious, at least for me, that Griffith was kind of trying to let Guts know, okay, like, I don't need a reason to help you. Like, I like you. Like, that's just, you feeling like it's that sound like you don't need to ask for that. It comes with the package. And I feel like it's even more obvious because in the manga, Griffith is drawn to be, you know, very feminine. Okay, he looks like he's wearing lipstick. Like, you know, he has a very feminine face. And of course, even in the anime, it shows that. But again, the manga makes it very clear to where I feel like people would see this much easier if Griffith was a girl. Okay, or if Gus was a girl. I just feel like there would be no confusion. But just like how Guts said, he was like, okay, back in the day, you said you didn't want to lose one good soldier. It's like, look, people die every day, and you don't seem to care about that because it's all for the kingdom, right? But when it comes to me being one soldier, it's a different story. And he's like, you keep bringing this up. Like, I think he feel like, Griffith like, boy, it's been 3 years. Like, why are we still bringing this up? You should already know. You feel me? I feel like he's even seeing like, oh, you know, Guts, he's so innocent. You feel me? And I feel like that's another reason why he didn't just up and come out and, you know, say this and say that. Because, for one, Griffith was probably still figuring out his feelings, right? For one. But for two, he understands that Guts is not on that type of time. I feel like earlier on, I did another video about it when they were frolicking in the water. I feel like that was Griffith's way of being like, let me see if, you know, how he's going to take this, if he's interested or not. And then he saw Guts did not catch on. And so he's like, oh, okay. Okay, I guess we'll frolic in the water innocently or whatever the case is, but he's not opposed to it because he still frolicked in the water with me while I was completely naked. You feel me? So again, he's just like, oh, you keep bringing up this topic. Okay, there's no reason at all, right? Is it necessary? Do I have to always have a reason? Do I have to always have a logical, rational reason to do what I do? Because again, as we know, as those feelings get involved, we get real irrational, okay? We get real irrational. He's like, do I need a reason for that? Why can't I just care for you? Why can't I just do stuff for you? Like, and mind you, these are big things. He's risking his life for Guts, but he's like, why can't I just do that? Why does it have to be explanation? Again, because if we're looking at things like, oh, they're supposed to just be bros, it's kind of like, bro, like, why are you risking your life for me? You feel me? You don't risk your life for everybody else. Why are you doing it for me if we're just bros? Exactly. And then he does this, okay, that smolder, that look, okay, again, you see the cherry blossom or the little leaf in the air, okay, the hair is blowing. Look, Guts don't know what the hell going on. He like, I mean, no, I guess you don't need a reason. I'm confused, my dude. Like, why are you risking your life for me? Like, what's really going on? Like, I'm confused. He's confused. He just want a friend. He just want to be loved. He just want a friend. But he don't want to be loved in that way. You feel me? Like, he just really, Guts is actually really innocent. He comes off really hardcore because he has to be, right? He has to put up that wall to protect himself because of what he's gone through. But he's still like a little boy, okay? Griffith is different, right? He's more mature in those ways. He knows, like, you know, they both know how the world works in different ways, but Griffith is okay with exploiting himself to get what he needs to get what he wants to get, compared to Guts, who has been, you know, who has been abused in that way to where it's like, you know, he's not interested in really doing that. He'd rather risk himself, his life, right, than to ever put himself in the type of situations that Griffith is okay with putting himself in to get what he wants. Guts is trying to still find his will to live. Not his will to live. He's trying to find out why, like, what's the meaning of life a lot of the times. That's why when this whole thing of like, oh, you got to find your own dream, a lot of times he didn't even know why he was fighting for real. He just knew he was going to fight. You get me? So it's like, this is crazy. But yeah, you cannot tell me that this was just bros. Oh, that he just saw him as a tool. That's why he looking at him like that. Like, no. Two things can be true at once, but that is not only what this is. And it's just so sad because Casca not only had to see Griffith, like, catch feelings for Guts, okay, in front of her, but she also had to see him flirting with the princess and them making little noises on leaves and shit. Like, look at Casca's face, bro. She's like and then she looks so deflated. Oh my goodness, this was going through it, honey. And it's just so sad seeing Casca go through the motions, because Casca over here being like, okay, she's just worried about him after he got hit with that arrow. He's like, calm down, it's okay, it's okay. Here come the princess start crying. And Casca like, ho, is you cool? Like, hold on. When did they get so close to where she crying over him? Like, what is going on? She like, here's another hoe I have to worry about. Okay, so here's another time Griffith is trying to drop hints for Guts. But he know his man slow, so he like, okay, we gonna ease into it. Do y'all remember that he was talking about, oh yeah, I read all these books, and there's some strange ones in here like makeup and cooking, and you know, Guts is like, you know. And I can't show this part because I don't want it to get messed up, but basically he said, oh, and there's some like this, and he's showing Guts, and it's people, I forgot if it's called the Kama Sutra, or it's the book with all the sex positions, honey. And he's like, what are you gonna do? He literally looking and waiting for Guts' response, and Guts is just like, okay. And again, he just completely is not aware. He's just like, okay, so what did you want really? Again, here he go, just like, okay, I guess back to business, because again, he's still not getting it. It's like, are y'all not reading the same manga? Like, why would he show him that? And again, just to be clear, when Griffith said, you know, but half of it is because I'm actually interested in these books too, right? Because he said when you get higher, you know, up the ladder, you gotta start, it's not all about just fighting. So he's talking about history, religion, science, and the arts, but there are some strange ones like makeup and cooking, etc. Again, letting Guts know these are some things that he's interested in, right? And he's just like, because again, Guts is thinking of it as bros type stuff. Like, yeah, I wouldn't really read that. Like, that sounds boring. Compared to Griffith kind of trying to slowly let him know, like, hey, these are some of the things I'm into. But again, it's just going completely over his scalp, honey. And yeah, so again, you guys gotta really read between the lines here. When Griffith slept with that Baron, he just saw it as like a means for money, right? Casca, that was a huge thing for her, because she was like, why would you do that? Like, we could just keep fighting this, that, and third. He was like, look, that would take too long. Now, this aspect of Griffith, this is why earlier on I had said Griffith's probably just bisexual, because he would sleep with a man or a woman if it means he would, you know, get further, right? But now I don't really stand by seeing him as bisexual, just because you could sleep with somebody and that don't mean that you know, sexually attracted to them in that way or romantically attracted. The only person that we really saw him like be romantically attracted to and like really, you know, do like just act different and changed how he act, like all that type of stuff, was Guts. So if anything, he probably is just gay, and that's completely fine. But I want to talk about how people say that he doesn't have no feelings, like he doesn't feel bad, he has no emotions, whatever the case is. Because when Casca's like, hey, why did you do that? Like, you know, this, that, and third. He's like, look, that would take too long, because with each battle we fight, we keep on losing soldiers. And he thinks about this little boy that was, you know, in the Band of the Hawk that lost his life. Now, of course, when she asked him, hey, is this about the little boy that died? He says no, right? But look at him. Look at how he's scratching, he's digging into his skin. He's saying that I don't feel responsible for the soldiers that are following my order, right? Because, you know, they chose to do that. That's their choice. That's how he sees it, right? But look at what he's doing to himself, okay? He's literally tearing his skin off, right? He's like, but for the ones that have died, if I could win for them, you know, if I can have victory for them, I would continue winning. Like, I'm going to continue to win, even if that means sacrificing myself for my dream. Kind of like to pay them back. I think he feels terrible for what's happening to these people. I feel like it's putting pressure on him. You feel me? Like, okay, I have to win. My dream has to come true, because too many people have died. Too much blood has been shed. So I don't mind sacrificing myself because these people believe in me at this point. At some point, years and years go by, people keep dying. They're going to be looking like, okay, well, where the kingdom at? Because we just keep on doing the same thing. Where's the kingdom at? So yeah, he's going to start throwing it back because he's like, okay, something got to give. Too many people are dying. And people can't just be dying for no reason. So I feel like I feel like that's not talked about enough. When people they have faith in themselves, they do dream big, they have people who are following them, you got to make shit shake now. You can't just be talking. Now we got to actually do something. Now it actually got to get done. Because especially, like, think about that. Especially if somebody is losing their life for you. You have to get it done. It can't be all in vain. And I think that's the weight that he's carrying. It means something to him. Do you see this? It means something to him. It don't matter if he's like, oh, it doesn't matter to me. They sacrificed their life on their dying. No, this means something to him. And it's eating him up because he's not there yet. At this point, he is not there in that kingdom yet. And people are dying. So now he's like, okay, something got to give now. We need to speed this process up. He has feelings, y'all. And again, just for clarification, even when he's like, and yet I feel no sadness or guilt, like even if I'm trading so many people's lives for my own life, but look at what's going on. Maybe he doesn't feel exactly terrible for like the fact that these people are dying, but I think there's pressure, and I think he feels terrible at the fact that he doesn't feel terrible. Like, honestly, I really do. I feel like he's like, what is wrong with me for real? Look at his face. What is wrong with me for real? What is happening right now? It's a dream, like he said, it's a dream soaked in blood. And I'm willing to trade thousands of men's life for my own. And like, what is going on? Why don't I feel sadness or guilt? Okay, something has to shake because what is happening right now? This means something, right? So when people say, oh, he doesn't have the capacity to feel. Yes, he does. He feels. I just don't think he's feeling what he thinks that he should be feeling, if that makes sense. Like if one person dies, right? I think a normal person would be like, oh my God, let's just call it off. Let's just call it quits. We don't need to do this. Too many people's lives are being put at risk. Compared to this person that really wants this so bad that he's willing to sacrifice these people's lives to get it. Even 1,000 men's life to get it. And he doesn't feel bad about that. So I do feel like he feels bad, but it's not about what the normal average person would feel bad about, if that makes sense. So, okay, this is where Casca is basically saying like, oh, life was a dream with him, until you came along, Gut. And again, saying like, remember what he said on that hill? He said, I want you. She said, he's not the type to say those type of words. He ain't never, okay? He's never said that to anyone before. And she's just basically letting him know that, I was jealous of the type of person that can make him say those words. And it happened to be you. And so this is what we need to look at. She said, I tried to tell myself that he only wanted you as an asset to the Hawks. Isn't this what people are getting confused about? Whenever we talk about Guts and Griffith's relationship, or really specifically how Griffith feels towards Guts, everybody's like, oh, he just wanted him as an asset and as a tool and to control and manipulate. That's what Casca was trying to tell herself. She was in denial, and she's admitting that she was in denial. Okay? She was like, I tried to tell myself that it was just that, right? But again, okay, he gets so worried when it involves you, as if what? And he's like, of course, Guts it's still not clicking for him. And it's as if she doesn't want to say it, but she's like, again, Griffith trusts you, but you're crazy. You fight without thinking, right? But she was like, the thing is, you don't care about others, like, because she's seeing that Griffith puts himself in danger for Guts, and that's what she can't forgive, because she loves Griffith so much that it's gonna hurt her. But I think she's used to not being chosen by Griffith by this point, to where she's like, whatever, F it, okay, whatever. I admit I lost to you, Guts, okay, whatever. But what I'm not gonna be okay with is if you get him killed, okay? If you get him killed, you get him hurt, that's what I'm not okay with. And this is why she's like, I don't care if you die on some battlefield, but you cannot destroy Griffith, the Band of the Hawks, or his dream. She will not forget. Again, you changed Griffith, okay? She can't forgive him because she changed Griffith. Again, Guts ain't not a thought in his head, honey. It's still going over his head. He's like, what is she talking about? This girl having a whole breakdown. She's like, what for? Why must it be you? I feel like she would have felt better if it was another woman. Probably. Maybe. because at least she could kind of compete with that a little bit. He liked men at this point. After the Baron, okay, after the aristocrat dude he done slept with, for the money, she already was just like, oh, okay. And then now the second person that actually changed him, the first person that actually changed him, the second man that he was involved with in any type of way like that, is another, give me another man. So she's like, I really can't do that. I can't compete with that. He's not interested, for real. And she's like, why must it be you? So again, I just want to point that out, because even Casca admit that for a while she was trying to be in denial. But it's so obvious. It's so obvious that Griffith feels for Guts, and that Guts meeting him has changed Griffith, and that it hurts her. Okay, so that I'm like, this is what I'm like, are we reading the same manga, y'all? It's very obvious to me. It always has been. We never truly got to see Griffith's face after he was tortured, and that keeps me up at night. For a manga like Berserk, all the crazy graphic stuff that happens in Berserk, for us to never truly see the damage that was done to Griffith's face, that should say something. Like, because me personally, I do hate when in an anime or even in a movie show, whatever, they have like a note or a picture, or they're seeing something that is so crazy and they never show us. So that's always bothered me. But we get some type of artwork from the movie, and it just kind of shows like pieces of like his face, like just chunks of it is just out. We know that his tongue was cut out, right? We know that his tendons and all that was slashed. Like, we do know that, but like they showed his body in the movie even, right? But it's like we never get to really see his face for real. And I just think that is crazy. When I get to I'm rereading Berserk and I'm posting videos as I go and I'm analyzing. But when we get to those points, when we get closer to the eclipse, I do want to get into even Griffith's mental state going into when he makes the choice to say, I sacrifice. Because that's something that we don't talk about. We do talk about how it was extremely, how it was inhumane that he did sacrifice, all his friends. And basically, like, they were like his family, even though he didn't view it as that, whatever, because they didn't have their own dream, whatever. But these people, you've been living with them and fighting with them. They're like, your family, they're your friends, whatever. And you sacrifice them. And then what you did to Casca, right? We don't talk enough about the mental state that he was in when all of this happened as well. I mean, it was a whole year, right? It was a whole year that he was tortured in the most horrific ways, every which way that can be imagined, without taking him out fully. Just because he was physically alive does not necessarily mean that he was still mentally all the way there. I won't just be like, oh yeah, he just was completely gone. No, like, he was coherent, like, enough to still know who people were, whatever the case is, and all that stuff, and still have some feelings behind stuff. But how much really? So we're gonna get into that. Gus has a hard time finding meaning in his life because he was only socialized to be a weapon. We see this with the blacksmith Godo as well, when he was like, Godo, what made you become a blacksmith? And this blacksmith was like, it's all I know. Like, he was saying, I was lifting a hammer before I could even walk. So, like, that's literally all he knows. He was like, and then, I just kept on, doing it until next thing you know, I woke up and I'm an old man. And Guts can relate to that because since he was a young boy, he was swinging his sword because of, what was his name? Because that's how Gambino trained him and socialized him. So he really didn't have time to figure out if he liked to, play with friends. He didn't have hobbies. I mean, let's be real, he didn't really have any kid friends his age. He was literally just surrounded by older men, swinging the sword, in battles, okay, killing people at a very young age. And the only way that he was, worth something in Gambino's eyes is if he won and then brought him money and things like that. And even then, it was as if he could never really make him proud. He could never really make him happy. And so now, he's an adult now, and he still doesn't know what the meaning of his life is. All he knows is to survive, survive, and survive. And these are touching on topics of, like, how hegemonic masculinity affects men. Like yes, men benefit from like the patriarchy and like, you know, hegemonic masculinity, but they are also victims to it as well. If you don't know what hegemonic masculinity is, it's like, you know, the beliefs that, you know, men should be physically strong, they should be aggressive, they should be, you know, disciplined, they should be violent, be risk takers. So in, you know, trying to strive for that, sometimes men, a lot of times actually, men aren't just able to be, and they're just not able to just be people. You get me? Because they have to be that, and if they're not that, then they're considered less than a man. Like men have to always prove their masculinity compared to, like, you know, let's say with women, like, you know, women usually don't have to prove their femininity, not all the time, right? But it's already like assumed, oh yeah, you're feminine, you're a woman, whatever the case is, compared to like men. It's like, okay, well, how man enough are you? How masculine are you? So always, you know, socializing young boys for that can kind of like, in a way, strip them of having a life, a spirit, a soul, to just be able to live life and enjoy life for what it is. Now they have to always be this weapon. They highly identify with whatever they do for work, or, you know, what they're socialized for. So, for example, with Godo being a blacksmith, you know, if he's socialized to do that, now that's become his identity. He doesn't know anything else. Same thing with Guts. That's like swinging that sword has become a part of his identity. He doesn't know anything else. He was only socialized for that one thing. And so now that leaves a lot of men like Guts, like Godo, right? Not knowing what else to live for. You get me? Like, not understanding that there could be anything else. And so then going into when Guts and Casca kind of gets together, I feel like that gives some hope for, like, you know what? Like, maybe there is more. On top of even when he had kind of had trouble finding out what's my dream. You know, when Griffith was like, you know, I respect people that have their own dream. And he was just like, dang, what is my dream? Because I was only socialized to do one thing. And so even though, you know, he was having trouble too, being like, well, is this even my free will? Because I wasn't even thinking about finding my own dream until I heard Griffith say it. And if Griffith didn't say it, and I would have known he would have respected me just as I am in his head, right? I would just be okay just swinging my sword. And so then, you know, he goes on like this soul searching, you know, like journey for that year of like, what am I supposed to do? Who is Guts really? Like, who is Guts really without his sword, right? And even in that year, all he was doing was fighting, you know, training and fighting other bigger, not bigger, but like other strong opponents. So even then, that's still like around that, because that's kind of like a lifelong journey, having to find yourself and find who you are when you're not surrounded by other people, or influenced by other people. But I just think that was a good thing to touch on, because so many men go through that as well, to where a lot of them not that they don't even have the time. They don't take the time. They don't even have the time. They can't even afford the time to just be on their own and, you know, find out what they really want to do. Because they also have the pressures of society. They got to make money some way. Sometimes they have a family. They got to provide this, that, and third. So if they don't fit within this frame of masculinity, now what, they're considered less than, or not a man, or whatever the case is. Corcus is a good example of that. He's somebody who exists highly in that box, that small box of like what he thinks a masculine man is. This is why it's so he can't even imagine Griffith caring for Guts in any way. Like, even when he did all that after Guts left, he was like, there's no way it was all because of Guts. It's just no way. Like, he can't even fathom, because he only exists, he's like tunnel vision on like these beliefs of masculinity and like what a real man, because this is a man he respects. So he can't even fathom that Griffith may exist outside of that box. It doesn't like compute in his head.